I know you said it's not salvific. I don't think it's salvific topic in itself.
Yeah.
I think it can weaken or strengthen your faith, as I said at the start. And it can get you either closer to the truth or further away from it, because you don't have a sense of urgency if you don't think that something is coming.
I think everybody still has a sense of urgency.
Absolutely not.
I believe so. I believe I still have a sense of urgency. I
Maybe
believe
you're one of few.
I
and
believe
you know
that
you're
Christ,
different.
I believe Christ is coming, and I believe he's coming to, to exact judgment on the earth.
All right, what is going on? How's everybody doing out there? I hope the answer is you're doing well. This is episode 19 of the Dry Bones podcast.
Oof.
19. Wow, it feels like yesterday.
One away, bro. One away.
We're getting there. We're getting
episode
there.
19. I can't believe this, bro. 19 weeks.
Yeah, man. We keep trying to produce content that's gonna edify you guys, that's going to bring attention to some things that sometimes we'll hear in the pulpits. Talk about it all the time. But today I think we have a topic that's both controversial, highly debated, but it's also edifying. It's also edifying because the understanding of this topic, I believe, either strengthens faith or weakens faith. I truly do, depending on how you understand this. And it's also encouraging and discouraging. So I don't want to keep beating a dead horse with any pre-talk in regards to the topic.
Yeah.
I want to jump right into it. And this topic today is going to be the great end times debate.
Wow, man.
Right? End times debate. And this is going to be
this
the
is
first
a little
format,
different. Yeah.
I think that we're going to be back and forth in our approach and our dynamic, because I think and believe differently than you do in this topic, right?
Yeah, we do.
And I've been convicted for many years in what the end times looks like, right? And what the tribulation time looks like. And as I've grown in faith and decided to do some of my own studies and with mentors, I've come to the conclusion that, the time is coming. And it's coming soon. The time is near. We're seeing all the signs and wonders of the Great Tribulation. And with the Great Tribulation, also the rapture of the church. So before I dig into my beliefs, I think that the way that you were, that automatically your heart was like twitching a little bit when you heard it. So I want to throw it over to you and see, where are you at with this topic? What would be your introduction, your starting point, and then we'll kick it off from there.
Yeah, bro. This has been an ever-changing belief of mine, bro. An ever-evolving belief, I should say, like something that's constantly, little nuances are constantly changing about the end times. Guys, I want to preface this entire conversation first by saying that obviously this is what is called eschatology. This is the study of the end times, and end times prophecy. And I want to preface this by saying that we do disagree on eschatology, on a lot of it. But I want to strengthen people by helping them understand that there is no one way to believe in eschatology as far as salvation is concerned. Because it's very important to know that just because, and if somebody is teaching out there that you have to believe a certain eschatological framework in order to be saved, I'm sorry, but they're lying to you. And, this is one of those, what I would call a non-salvific topic, or a non-salvific, there's non-salvific properties to understanding in this side of the scriptures. And it's because, first of all, a lot of it is debated. There's a lot of different denominations believe in the end times differently. So I don't want to go out there and make anyone feel doomed, or make anyone feel like if they don't believe it in the way that I do, that they're screwed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We want to eliminate that.
Yes,
from people that are visiting our podcast. Yes. This is a judge-free zone. So comment down below and let us know what your opinions are. You're going to hear a lot of back and forth between me and him. So let us know what you guys think of the end times. And what are some of your tidbits if you feel like we missed out on anything? Throw that in there as well. So as always, keep liking, keep commenting, keep subscribing. And to kind of go into like what I believe, obviously, I believe in a non-rapture. And that's going to sound kind of crazy to the community. Wow. Yeah, I don't believe in the rapture per se, the way that the church believes it.
Is that how the Jehovah's Witnesses believe too? They don't believe in the rapture?
Jehovah's Witnesses, actually don't believe in a rapture either. They believe in a little bit something more complicated than the rapture. That's I feel like even harder to explain, which is something that I've evolved from as well. The Jehovah's Witnesses actually believe in two classifications of salvation. So the Jehovah's Witnesses believe in two groups of saved individuals, right?
I see where you're going with this.
You have your 144,000, which are the anointed class Christians that nobody can get unless they just suddenly know that they're anointed. You know, that you can't ask questions on who's anointed. The person just knows it or they don't.
Yep.
And then you have the other class of Christians who are the great crowd, as they mention in Revelation chapter 7. It seems like there's two groups there. It's just, you know, I always believed it that way too. But I have since kind of evolved from that belief. And my belief is just that a lot of the prophecies and a lot of the things that are linked to end times, Matthew chapter 24, you know, is a big one. Luke chapter 21, you know, you have your Mark, I believe. I don't know if it's Mark 7. I could be wrong on that one, but you have your parallel in Mark, right? A lot of those things are linked to end times specifically, and you know, we've talked a lot about this as well, even offline. You know, my belief is that a lot of that stuff that people think nowadays, the signs of the end and all of those things actually pertain to the first century.
You don't think it has anything to do with it?
I don't believe that most of chapter 24 has anything to do with end times per se, but rather the end of an age of the first century of the Jewish age. So yeah, you know, that's kind of like a good like idea of how I believe it. I believe that when Jesus comes back, he's going to establish his kingdom on earth. Immediately, and that there's no 7-year tribulation period, that there's no rapture to be taken away temporarily for a temporary time and to be brought back. Rather, as soon as Jesus comes, he's coming to establish his kingdom. The righteous will be raised, those who are dead in Christ first, then the ones who are surviving will meet him in the New Jerusalem on earth, and that we will begin the millennial reign, which is the 1,000-year reign of Christ, where we will reign alongside him as kings and priests. And then other than that, after the 1,000 years, it just goes from there. You know, the judgment, and then, you know, everything else. Eternity.
You know, obviously, since this is a debate, I think, you know, based on the interpretations you gave, there's a couple of things that come up to me, right? And a lot of, we could try sometimes to get away from some of the things that we were indoctrinated in, but even I found that it's very difficult to completely pull away, right? It's the same reason why we talk a lot offline, you know, about me being Pentecostal, not Pentecostal. I don't consider myself Pentecostal, but if you go and you see the denomination of my church, if you go to their Facebook page, it's going to say Pentecostal, right? And truly, I actually looked into it. There's other options. You don't have to click that. You can leave it like without anything, right? And so let people watch the content and basically decide who you are. Or write out, be charismatic, right? And so non-denominational. But sometimes a lot of the things that we've been indoctrinated with, even when we pull away from the negative parts of it, the people that develop, I think, the spiritual maturity, they still adopt some of those things and stick with it, you know, and say, hey, this is kind of the things.
So fully detach is difficult for a lot of people, you know, including myself. We make jokes about me still being Jehovah's Witness sometimes with some of the interpretations
and
that I have.
That's actually where I was going. I think that in this sense, and a lot of these topics we disagree on, I think there's still some indoctrination in you. And
this is one of those for me, huh?
Yes, this is one of those topics that I believe is still there because, you know, I think I want to start basic level and then digging into a couple of things. And I don't have the same. I didn't do as much digging historically as you have, because when I came out of some of the indoctrinations of the Pentecostals, for me, they were more like practical things, right? Like saying somebody wears, you know, jeans is in sin. Somebody can't wear earrings. You can't cut your hair.
Like
you can't color it. It's dogmatic.
You focus a lot of dogmas,
So with the Pentecostals, I broke a lot of dogmatic beliefs. Not so much, you know, core beliefs like the Jehovah's Witness. So, you know, I don't
know everything. You say that you don't think you have a lot of stuff, but I don't know. Every time you bring that iPad, it's always you always go pretty hard.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like my memory doesn't work like yours, and I haven't studied for enough because I was convicted enough that some of these things don't have to change because I changed the dogmatic beliefs that I had. Right, some of these things could remain the same because they're the truth. Now, you said something key And nobody has the absolute truth.
Correct.
If anybody ever claims to do that,
right,
they're probably lying to you,
right,
or being used by the enemy to try to manipulate you.
Right.
Nobody has the absolute truth. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter your favorite pastor, the person that you think is more knee deep into the word.
Right.
The only person that has that is the Messiah, is
That's right.
Jesus. And so we are not there yet,
Amen,
right?
amen.
To speak to somebody that has the absolute truth. But I believe I have most of the truth,
Yeah. I mean,
based on this belief. And so, Luke,
right.
you hit Matthew,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of books,
Some
First
Mark,
Thessalonians,
Thessalonians,
Second
Paul.
Thessalonians, Titus.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the most impactful one is Daniel.
Mm-hmm. A lot
Right?
in the Old Scripture, in the Old Testament too. Yeah,
I believe that he spearheaded this whole thing
Mm-hmm.
with his prophecies. And so, when you say that you don't believe that some of these things are end times, so what was Daniel talking about then? Right? Daniel decreed 69 weeks. Right? Let's start there, because I want to do chronological or I'll lose myself. Okay. My mind doesn't work too well. I'm getting older, so I want to take it step by step.
The 70
Okay.
weeks.
The 70 weeks.
70 weeks.
Right? No, yeah,
That's a part
and
of
I
this
say
argument, by the way.
70
last week.
weeks. It's that last week. That's why I stopped it at 69, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we look at the prophetic timeline, the way that the Hebrews saw it
Yeah.
is every week represented 7 years, right? And so to the completion of the 70 weeks that Daniel prophesied, they completed themselves with the death, resurrection of the Messiah in 70 AD when the temple was destroyed.
Yes.
That's what we believe, the ones that believe in the tribulation, great tribulation, that the 70 weeks of Daniel, the 69 weeks ended, right? And so then there's what we call the church age, which is what we're living on now, right?
Yeah.
And so this is the time where we believe that it paused.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why do we believe that it paused? It's because if you look at Daniel closely, and when he was talking about the 69 weeks, right, or the 70 weeks as a whole, this decree was to the Israelites, to the Jewish people. This didn't apply to us. Right? And so if it didn't apply to us and only the Israelites, and now we have a pause, the pause is, in my opinion, based on the things that I've looked up and researched, the pause is to allow for the Gentiles to be grafted in. But Israel, the original Israel that he was talking about, right, before Jesus' death, before his resurrection, before the gospel spread,
before the grafting,
the original weeks that he was speaking about was to his people, right? So what we see here is a time frame where what is spoken about that would happen on the 70th week, like the rebuilding of the temple, right? Like the great abomination of desolation, right? That will sit on the throne of God and proclaim to be God. All of these things that we understand that are to happen, right? That will happen, they haven't happened yet because Israel's in a pause. Basically, the gospel spreading, we've been grafted in, right? The word is being preached everywhere. And then there's going to come a time when we're going to focus in again on God's people, where we're eliminated from that, right? And in order for this to happen and for it to be able to spread throughout the entire planet, I believe that the church age people have to be gone from the earth in order for this to be able to happen to the people that are there left in Israel, right? And then the message that spreads throughout the whole nation is spread when the people that were grafted in are no longer here. So I want to start there, because if you could explain that to me, how you can remove or think that week already completed itself based on the prophecies that Daniel talked about. And I have them here written down, but first I want to hear your perspective. Like, how did that already happen in your point of view?
So it's interesting, right? Because, the book of Daniel is something that we're even told to look into by Jesus Christ himself in Matthew chapter 24. He actually tells us to go look into Daniel's prophecy. And so, you're right. The source, the kind of roots of to understand what this is talking about is in Daniel. When you go to Daniel, first I'll start off by saying you were right. He was decreeing whatever he was decreeing as the prophecy towards his people, which is Israel.
Correct.
Okay. Now we have to also keep in mind, because a lot of times, in order to understand it in the way that you do, you have to create a gap, and it's called gap theory. You have to create a gap between the 69th and the 70th week to symbolize the church age rather than Israel. And the problem with that is that, in my eyes at least, the problem with that is that Daniel, like you said, was speaking to Israel when he decreed the prophecy. And the prophecy was not for 69 weeks. The prophecy was for 70 weeks. So if he was talking to Israel and the prophecy is 70 weeks, then that last week isn't related to anybody else but Israel.
Correct.
You know, so even the last week, which I don't know if I understood you wrong, that you said that last week is for the church age, which is us. You know, we're not a part of the original Israel.
No. It's not for the church age.
Oh, okay.
That's what we're
you
waiting on
understand
the church age to end, which is going to end when Jesus snatches us. And that's when the last 7 years of the prophecy, the last week, is going to begin. That's what we believe the tribulation to be.
Okay.
The last 7 years of the 70 weeks that Daniel spoke about.
I guess when I read the book of Daniel, I don't see any mention or I don't see any hint that there's going to be a gap. I see when I read it, which is what I'm going to ask you to kind of like go into. When I'm reading it, I see that he's talking about 70 weeks for Israel, and he actually tells you what's going to happen throughout the entire 70 weeks.
Sure.
And it all seems to be talking about Israel and Jerusalem, or Israel as a nation of people, and Jerusalem as a place where the temple is. So I would ask you to kind of go into it.
Absolutely.
If you want to jump into it now, let me know or show me pretty much where he goes into that.
If we go into the book of Daniel, chapter 9, 24 to 27, you said something key.
I'm going to follow up with you here.
Yes.
So you said,
go ahead.
You said the book of Daniel.
Yep, chapter 9. And we're going to read
Daniel
verses
chapter 9, okay.
24 through 27.
9,
right.
24 through 27?
Through 27.
Yep. That's the prophecy, yep. Okay.
So before we get into it, I think you said something key, right?
Sure.
That you said that Daniel explains every single week. That's exactly the point.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we have our differences because you want to understand and believe that everything is laid out and written out in plain sight in the scriptures, right? But we have to be open to the opportunity or the chance that God's plans, that he works differently with humans throughout time, and that his plans don't always mean what you think they're going to mean or are interpreted the way you're going to interpret it. If you're saying that the 70 weeks, right, were laid out by Daniel already, he spoke through them. He spoke through what was going to happen, the actions.
Correct.
And we understand, when I read through this, we're going to understand that some of these things have not happened, right? Then the gap in the age, based on my conviction on the topic, is God giving grace and the opportunity for souls to be saved, for the gospel to spread through the whole inhabited earth, for all of these things to happen. And he's having mercy on people, mercy and mercy and mercy, and trying to have an awakening, a revival of his word, of his spirit in the nations, so that as least people as possible go through this great tribulation or get lost, lose their soul. I believe that this is God's grace and mercy taken into effect, this pause that we don't understand. But based on what I'm going to read now, I believe since these things haven't happened, we can't really explain the pause. You're right. That's not explainable. You can't find a theologian anywhere that can explain where in Daniel did he speak about a pause. He did not.
Correct.
Right? But what we do understand is that the things he spoke about the 70th week haven't occurred.
Interesting.
So we have to deduce.
So you see that
there's a gap.
So you believe that there's a part of this prophecy that hasn't happened.
Yes,
right?
that I'm going to read now.
That's what I'm interested in hearing. Go ahead.
Okay. So 70 weeks are decreed upon your people and your holy city to finish the transgression, to put an end to sin. Okay. So, and I want to keep going, but when I read that, it immediately stands out to me. It says to put an end to sin. You believe the 70 weeks are done, right? Okay. So has sin ended? Really?
I believe so.
Because I think that we're still sinning on a day-to-day basis, and that we lose our salvation based on sin.
You're right. So in a literal sense, I believe that sin is still continuing. But in the sense that Daniel is talking about here, is the end to sin is because Jesus' sacrifice has already paid for all of our sins. So we are cleansed in the white robes of the Lamb.
But that doesn't match the timeline though, brother, because Jesus's timeline towards the end was the 69th week.
Yeah.
When did the 70th week complete, according to you?
So we'll continue to read, and we'll see it. We're going to see it happen there.
And to atone for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal both vision and prophet, and to anoint a most holy place. Those things have not happened yet. So look, we're already starting to speak about things that have not happened. We have not had the atonement for iniquity, right? To bring in everlasting righteousness.
The atonement for iniquity, it just means the payment for sins.
You believe that?
Yeah, but that's what his blood is, a payment.
Sure.
That's the ransom.
But the payment for sin of how God is going to see us at the end of the age. Not right now. Right now, if you don't accept that sacrifice, that's not an atonement for anything.
Right, but this is talking about those who accept. This is not talking about just in general. No more sin in general. Nobody can sin anymore. It's talking about the end to sin symbolically.
So how do you figure that? Because it says here it's very literal. What Daniel's talking about is very literal.
Keep going, and as we go through, you're going to see how the timeline plays out.
Know therefore and understand that from the going out of the word to restore and build Jerusalem,
yes,
to the coming of an anointed one, a prince, there shall be 7 weeks. Then for 62 weeks it shall be built again with squares and moat, but in a troubled time. And after the 62 weeks, an anointed one shall be cut off and shall have nothing. Right. That's Jesus.
Yes.
And the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Its end shall come with a flood, and to the end there shall be war. Desolations are decreed. And he shall make, this is speaking to the Antichrist, and he shall make a strong covenant with many for 1 week. And for half of the week, he shall put an end to sacrifice and offering.
Yep.
That's what we also believe, that midway through the tribulation, he's going to reveal himself as that abomination of desolation.
Okay, and now I see where you're at. Okay,
and on the wing of abomination shall come one who makes desolate until the decreed end is poured out on the desolator.
Okay, so now I see where our disconnect is. Now I see exactly where it is. Because that's why I wanted to kind of read the rest, because I wanted to kind of get an idea of what you or how you looked at the timeline. So I want to go over the timeline and how I see it.
Okay.
I'm going to explain the 70 weeks. So breaking down the 70 weeks, the prophecy is 70 weeks of years, right? Which you said that, we kind of already established 70 times 7, which is 490 years. Okay. 490 years, the timeline from start to end, right? So from the start, it starts when? From the going out of the word, right, to restore and rebuild Jerusalem.
Which was when?
Which was when?
Nehemiah.
Nehemiah
2.
It was the decree of Artaxerxes in Ezra chapter 7.
Yes.
Okay, and that was in 457 BC. If we want to read, if we want to go, we can.
Ezra chapter 7. No, it was Nehemiah 2.
So let's pull it up. Let's make sure. So I have it as Ezra chapter 7. That's when the decree happened. That's when they were let out of the 70, or when they were let out of Babylon, and then they were told that they were allowed to rebuild the temple. I think he goes in right here in verse 11, the king's decree. It says, now this is a copy of the decree which King Artaxerxes gave to Ezra, to the priest, the scribe, learned in the words of the commandments of the Lord and his statutes of Israel. Artaxerxes, king of kings, to Ezra the priest, the scribe of the law and the God of heaven. A scribe of the law of the God of heaven, perfect peace. And now I have issued a decree that any of the people of Israel and their priests and the Levites of my kingdom who are willing to go to Jerusalem may go with. For as much as you sent by the king his 7 counselors to inquire concerning Judah and Jerusalem, according to the law of God which was in your hand, and to bring the silver and gold, which the king of his counselors have freely offered to the God of Israel, who's dwelling in Jerusalem. It says, with all of the silver and gold which you find in the whole province of Babylon, along with your free will offering of the people and the priests.
The rebuilding of the temple happened in Nehemiah 2.
Where is it?
It was Nehemiah 2.
Show me.
Well, that's where he allowed Nehemiah to go and rebuild the temple. Nehemiah was sad.
I might have gotten that wrong. So Nehemiah what?
Nehemiah 2. Nehemiah 2 is where we start, and that is approximately 445 BC. If we're going to go by estimated timelines. This is when that happened.
Let me see.
And this is when Nehemiah told him, I'm sad, and he was highly esteemed by the king, and the king told him, well, what do you need? What is it to do? Well, my ancestors are laid out in the land, and there's nothing there. And so he allowed him and gave him all the tools to go and rebuild the temple. That's around when that happened.
So there are 4 major decrees, okay? The first decree was by Cyrus in Ezra chapter 1, verses 1 to 4, where that's why I had Ezra in my mind. Sheesh. Then you have your 7 weeks, because that's the next portion of what it says. For 7 weeks, they're going to be rebuilding Jerusalem, which is 49 years. Okay. By 408 BC, Jerusalem was restored, according to history.
By when?
By 408 BC, Jerusalem was restored, walls, temple, and governance. Okay? Then there's going to be a period of 62 weeks, which is 434 years. This leads us to the Messiah, the anointed one. 408 BC plus 434 years equals about 27 AD. Okay? The year of Jesus' baptism and his entrance into his ministry. Okay? Week 70, in the middle of the week, it says he will put an end, because that already brings you to 69.
Okay.
Okay? That already, so 7 weeks plus 62 is 69. Okay? So we already, at this point, the Messiah is here. The Messiah's ministry is beginning on the 69th week.
It's the timeline. It's the timeline.
Week 70, in the middle of the week, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. In the middle of the week. Jesus' crucifixion happened around from 30 to 33 AD. This fulfills, that's 3 years of ministry in half of the week.
But he started his ministry. So he started his ministry at 30. You're saying that he was baptized around 27.
Yeah.
His ministry began right after his baptism.
Yeah. So it's like a little squiggle. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's around, like it's not exact. Nobody has the exact dates. So, like, I know everybody, most people say he started in 30. So, in this sake, I'll say, okay, he started in 30, his ministry. For about 3.5 years, his ministry was. Week 70, in the middle of the week. You see how it says that? In the middle of the week, he will put an end to sacrifice and offering. Jesus' crucifixion is anywhere from 30 to 33 AD, which fulfills this. His death ended the sacrificial system, right? The veil was torn. The remainder of the 70th week, which is the other 3.5, right? Gospel is going first to the Jews until 34 AD. Stephen's stoning, the gospel turning around. And after the 70 weeks, the people of the prince destroy the city and the sanctuary, 70 AD. So there's no gaps here. The way that I'm reading it is there's no gaps. There's no 1,000 years gaps.
So you're tying it into Jesus's time. You're putting the 70 weeks all together. And you're basically saying that it did culminate with Israel. So it's no need to calculate the church age. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, there's no need to calculate in a gap.
I want to read this here as well. I think this is going to help us too. And this is in Ephesians 3. Ephesians 3 through 6. That is the mystery made known to me by revelation, as I have already written briefly. In reading this, then you will be able to understand my insight into the mystery of Christ, which was not made known to people in other generations, as it has now been revealed by the Spirit to God's holy apostles and prophets. This mystery is that through the gospel, the Gentiles are heirs together with Israel, members together of one body, and shares together in the promise in Christ Jesus. Right? So when I read that, that gives me basically an opportunity for a gap.
Why?
To me. Right?
Why?
Because if we have to be grafted in, that takes a process. Right? And also Paul speaks about it being a mystery. Right? So the mystery was revealed to them, wasn't revealed to us. The process of being grafted in and for the gospel to be received the same way it was received by Israel, the people that truly believed and accepted it, for that to happen, right? Like, think about the completion that you said that happened with Jesus' death and then the other 3.5 years to the destruction of the temple, right? In 70 AD. In that gap, were there all the nations preached to?
Well, we're jumping into Matthew 24 now. We can go into Matthew 24.
No, we will. This is different because I'm trying to create a space for an opportunity for that gap to happen.
Right. Okay. So I think what we need to do is try to break down Daniel as much as we possibly can.
Sure.
And then if we need to move into another thing, like Matthew.
Well, this is part of Daniel.
Okay. So
because this is, to me, this is explaining some of the things that were not revealed, that were not understood to have that gap.
So where in Daniel does it say that that all of the nations have to be preached to?
So if we go back to the part right here where it says what I read, and I'll read it again.
Mhm.
The 70 weeks are decreed about your people and your holy city to finish the transgression, to put an end to sin, and to atone for iniquity. Iniquity is for all people, not just for Israelites.
Okay, well,
To
pause
bring
there.
in everlasting righteousness. I understand how you're interpreting it, but that has not happened.
But pause there. The very beginning of that verse tells you who this is for.
So 70 weeks are decreed about
for
your
who?
people.
For who? What people?
Your people, the Israelites.
Israel
the
and
Hebrew, the
and
Jews.
What? And what?
And your holy city.
That's it.
Okay.
Those are the two things that this is for. So it says the 70 weeks has been decreed, 70, not 69, 70. And it has been decreed for your people, Israel, and your holy city.
And what do we become?
I understand. No, but this is talking about, you agreed. You said that in Daniel, they're not talking about the grafted in people.
Daniel, when he gave the 70 weeks, he was talking about the Israelites.
Right.
When we talk about the end times and adding this 7 years of the end times that are missing to the end of times, the end of this age, which, you'd think it was the end of the age of the apostles and the prophets, right? The age of the apostles and Jesus. Think that this age.
The age is just the age of the Jews that ended in 70 AD.
Okay.
Upon the destruction of Jerusalem, the destruction of the temple of God, that put an end to the age of the Jewish, nation, in that sense of being that chosen nation of God.
So, right. But when it comes to the end, this is in particular to verse 24.
Yeah.
If you look at where it says to finish the transgression, to put an end to sin, I wanna lean in heavily on that, and to atone for iniquity, to bring everlasting righteousness, to seal both vision and prophet, and to anoint a most holy place. I don't believe that we can exclusively tie that to just that section, that people. That part there, I believe that if we become part of Israel, as we're grafted in, then part of that prophecy, even though the 70 weeks was declared to them, we become, basically, we adopt some of that prophecy to ourselves.
So you believe in a double fulfillment?
I believe that the fulfillment of the prophecy was partial.
Right,
I don't believe in a complete fulfillment yet.
Right, so a dual fulfillment.
I think that it needed to be that we were preached to, that we were grafted in, that the gospel spread enough for the full completion of the 70 weeks to happen. And I know you think some of these things are symbolic. I also believe some of them are literal. I believe that abomination of desolation has to sit on the throne of God and proclaim to be God. I believe that the nations got to be brought together in one accord. And in order for him to do that, it's the nations. It's not the nation, right? Because even in Revelations, it speaks about the nations. It doesn't speak about the nation. It's not singular. Right? It's plural. So we're talking about multiple. When you tie that in, because a lot of Daniel's prophecies are end times prophecies regardless, right? A lot of them were about the Messiah. Some of them were speaking about the end times and some of the things that would happen. So if you put it all together, not just with chapter 9, but chapter 10 speaks about some things as well. If you put it all together with Daniel's prophecies, it starts making sense not only in the 70 weeks, but on the expectations that we have on things to happen that we can't possibly fathom that they occurred in the first century. Like, nobody proclaimed to be God and sat on his throne.
All right, but okay, so if we're just focusing on Daniel, because I know you're talking about Thessalonians.
We can move on from Daniel. We can move on. I think that we, because then we'll last all night.
No, I know. But I didn't really get your timeline breakdown of Daniel. So like, I guess my question for you for the book of Daniel, and understanding the 70 weeks is, because what I have here is we were in agreement for the 7 weeks, which was the rebuilding of the temple, which is 49 years. The 62 weeks leading us to the Messiah, which is 434 years. Okay, so
you want me to tell you my timeline? I have it here.
So where does that put us?
So my timeline is the starting point. Of going out to the world to restore and build Jerusalem. This happened by Artaxerxes decree in Nehemiah 2 in 445 BC. Now you count forward, because again, the 7 years, each week is 7 years, right? Counting forward 483 years. This lands us right around the time of Jesus' ministry, his triumphal entry, and the crucifixion.
Oh,
it's where the 483 years ends.
So okay, so let's do some quick math. You said it was 4. You said he put the decree out when?
He put the decree in 445 BC.
445 BC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 445 BC plus how many years? Plus 434 and then plus 49. So we'll do it one at a time. Plus 49, which is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And then plus 434. That brings us to like 32, 30.
Right.
Yeah.
The crucifixion.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the cutting off,
Mm-hmm.
right, which is one of the prophecies he spoke about. He spoke about it in verse 26 of Daniel 9,
Mm-hmm.
right? And an anointed one should be cut off. That's the Messiah's death. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the 69th week culminates in the cross.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
After that, Jerusalem and the temple are destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
After the culmination.
Wait, when does it get cut off?
It gets cut off at the crucifixion. That is when the 69th week completes and finalizes itself. And so this is where we enter the church age.
Mm-hmm.
So the destruction of the temple that happened in 70 AD is not included in Daniel's 70 weeks.
So why in the week 70, it says in the middle of the week, he'll put an end to sacrifice and offering? When did that happen?
That's not happening yet.
So so we're still sacrificing in the temple?
No, that's not what it's referring to.
What is it referring to?
That part is symbolic. That's part of the end times. When the Antichrist is here, he's going to set forth 7 weeks, 7 years. Those 7 years, the first 3.5 years, we believe it to be the time where he's going to make peace. He's going to make a covenant because Daniel spoke about the covenant too. Where was a covenant from that abomination of desolation? Where was that made in that first century? Where did anybody make a covenant with the nations? Nobody did at that time. The Antichrist is going to make that covenant with the nations. He's going to bring forth peace, world order, one religion, right? When that begins, for 3.5 years, the people that stay behind after the rapture, they're going to experience peace like the world has never seen before, right? Because he's going to be given the power and the authority to provide that. After that 3.5 years, right, which is what we're talking about with Daniel, right? After that 3.5 years, then he's going to reveal himself as who he is, the false prophet, the Antichrist, right, the antagonist. And that's when he's going to lay waste to the world, and that's when the plagues are going to hit.
Yeah.
And all of these things are going to come and destroy the world. That is our belief. After that 7 years is when we believe that Jesus' true second coming is. Because the rapture is not a second coming. Because when the rapture comes, does everybody see him?
According to Paul, yeah.
When the rapture.
Well, that's the thing. So we'll go into that. And then I guess I'll just end Daniel here.
Sure.
And then we'll move on to the next one. I'll end Daniel by saying, I guess where our disconnect is, I don't see week 70 being symbolic. I see it in the middle of the week, he'll put an end to the sacrifice and offering. We're no longer in a sacrificial system. We're no longer giving sacrifices for our sins. We're no longer going to the temple because it gets destroyed. And not only because it gets destroyed, but because our perfect lamb died for our sins and we no longer have to provide sacrifices anymore. I see that as literal. So that's why I guess there's a difference there. Okay, so we'll move on from Daniel and let's jump into, you want to jump into Matthew 24?
We can, yeah.
Okay, we could jump into Matthew 24. And then, because I know that you made a couple of comments that kind of brought up some Matthew, some echoes from Matthew. So let me pull it up. Matthew chapter.
And I do not believe the entire chapter, chapter is end times.
Yeah. And me neither, right? I believe that there's a portion of it that is, and that there is a portion of it that is for the first century. I know that we agree on some of those things there.
Yes.
I guess I'll start there?
Yeah.
Okay, so in Matthew 24, something that is commonly kind of seen as this whole chapter is end times, right? Most people see it that way. A lot of people see it that way. I would say a good percentage of Christians see it that way. Is actually misapplied by a lot of people. They misread a lot of this chapter. And a lot of this is actually about, if we just take it and we read not only Matthew 24, but also the parallel accounts in Mark, the parallel accounts in Luke, we kind of get a bigger picture, kind of get a fuller picture of what's going on. So Matthew 24, one of the most important things is that in the very beginning, it says that Jesus came out of the temple and was going away to his disciples. His disciples came up to point out the temple buildings to him, right? So we have an idea here. We have a subject. We have a topic at hand. They're pointing to buildings, and he says, do you not see all these things? Pointing at the temple, pointing at the beautiful adorning of the temple and how it looks. Do you not see? It says, truly I say to you, not one stone here will be left upon another and will not be torn down. A famous one, a famous line where people usually attribute to the end times.
Which I disagree that is end times.
Right, which I know
because of the act of 70 AD.
Right.
Those facts, I think, kind of eliminate the fact that that's end times.
Right,
part.
right, exactly. The apostles went on to ask him 3 questions here. And this is what's going to help us separate what is the end times and what is about the first century, okay? As he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately saying, "Tell us when these things will happen." So the things that they're talking about is the destruction of the temple, okay? And what will be the sign of your coming? That is about the end of the world, when Jesus returns.
That's right.
And then he asked them a final question, and the end of the age, which the age is, so most people will attribute that to the end times, but the age is about their age, the Jewish age, the end of this time that we're, living in the world, living oppressed by Rome, living in this sense of how we have been living.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
And Jesus answered them and said to them, he went on to go ahead and say that no one misleads you, for many will come in my name saying, I am the Christ, and they will mislead many. You will be hearing of wars and reports of wars. And he goes on to go into the signs of remember, he's answering the first question here.
Yes.
So he's giving them the signs.
Which I'm glad you're hitting that, because that is misinterpreted by 99.9% of the Pentecostals.
Yes.
As being the signs that we're looking at now, the wars.
Right.
Right. And all of the different attacks on Israel.
Right.
All of the different pestilences, earthquakes.
Yes.
COVID-19. A lot of people, right away, they want to jump the gun and they want to say, oh my goodness, it's the end times. Jesus is coming. He's coming. Oh my God, his coming is near. Yeah. And I do not believe that those signs were for the second coming of Christ.
Right.
I do not believe. I think that was exactly that answering the question, and something that was to happen in their time.
In their time. Correct.
You could go ahead. So
he went on to continue, like you said. He talks about those rumors of wars, hearing of wars and rumors. He tells them, make sure you're not scared. Make sure you're not frightened. Those things have to happen. They must take place. That is not yet the end, right? For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There's going to be famines, earthquakes, pestilences, things like you said, right? But all of these things are merely the beginning of birth pangs.
Yes.
Okay? They will deliver you into tribulation. They will kill you, right? And you will be hated by all the nations because of my name, right? We're still talking about the first century. There's no separation yet. They're talking about that time is going to be very high in tribulation for the Jews.
Yes, of course.
Right? These people are for the Jews and for the Christians. Really for the Christians, because they're amongst the Jews.
Yes.
The people who do not believe in the Messiah. So these people will give them up. These people will do these things, right? And it says, at that time, many will fall away and will betray one another and hate one another, right? These are people that are now used to be best friends, but now you're a Christian and you don't believe, and you believe in a false Messiah because I'm a Jew that I believe. So now we can't be friends. Right. Now we hate each other.
Right. Yep.
Right. And that's what's going into that. They will betray one another. Right. False prophets will arise and lead many. Lawlessness will be increased. The love of the greater number will grow cold. Right. And then we get into this part. And the gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, right? And then the end will come. So now, which end are we talking about here, right? Because there was only one end asked about, the end of the age, okay? The your coming didn't mention the word end. The end of the age is the end that's being described here. And it says this is when the end will, after this happens, the end will come. Pearliest times now. Therefore, now it says, when you see the abomination of desolation, which has been spoken of through the prophet Daniel, right? Standing in the holy place, let the reader understand and use discernment.
See, but that's where I think it's separated. When he starts speaking about the abomination of desolation, I think he's warning us of what's to come after the events of the destruction of the temple.
Got you. Okay, so you believe the separation happens right there in verse 14.
I believe there's verse 14. And I still don't believe that all of that is end times. I think that there's... Keep reading, and then I'll tell you.
Yeah. So assuming that's the case, he then one thing I want to point out here is that he says, therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation, he's still talking to the disciples. So he's talking to them when you see the abomination of desolation, which has been spoken through the prophet Daniel. It says, then let the ones who are in Judea, we're still talking about the people who live there, flee into the mountains. Whoever is on the housetop must not go down to get the things that are in his house. Whoever is in the field must not turn back to get his cloak. But woe to those who are pregnant and those who are nursing babies in those days. But pray that your flight might not happen in the winter or in the Sabbath, for then there will be a great tribulation, right? Such has not occurred since the beginning of the world until now. That's verse 21.
Okay.
Nor ever will. Unless those days had been cut short.
Correct.
No life would have been saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. Then if anyone says to you, behold, here is the Christ, or there he is, do not believe him, for false Christs and false prophets will arise and will show great signs, wonders, so as to mislead many.
So when did that happen in the first century?
I'm going to go into that. Yeah, so I'm going to go into that very soon.
Because I've already, at some point during the scripture in Matthew 24, after verse 14, is when I believe there's an intertwined message. Okay. And when it speaks about the abomination of desolation, obviously that's my sticking point, right? We haven't seen. When it speaks about the false prophets, when it speaks about the signs that they're going to make, that they're going to deceive even the elect, right? Like, we have to understand who are the elect, and we have to understand who the false prophet is to be able to know if these things have happened, right? These people that have awoken, lifted up, and done signs and wonders. Who do you know throughout the history from Jesus' death till now has done signs and wonders? I'll let you finish, and then I want you to explain that to me.
Yeah, sure. I want to remind us that it says, for false Christs, plural, and false prophets, plural, will arise. So not one specific false prophet or false Christ or false Messiah, that they will show great signs and wonders so as to mislead, and if possible, even the elect. So he says, he told you in advance, so that if they say to you, behold, he's in the wilderness, don't go out. Or behold, he's in the inner rooms, do not believe them. For just as the lightning comes from the east and the flashes to the west, so the coming of the Son of Man will be. Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. Okay? So I guess there's more, but I guess
where are you at there? Where you stop?
We're on verse 28.
Okay, so let me read verse 29.
Okay, go ahead.
Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. And the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. This is Revelations right here.
Okay.
Because I can pull up Revelation. Is the word synonymous?
Synonymous?
Is that the word
like
where
a
you
parallel?
can... Exactly.
Okay.
So I could pull parallel accounts in Revelations to this, right, when we're talking about here.
Okay.
This hadn't happened yet.
Gotcha.
Then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Now notice here, there's a key, that he says all of the tribes of the earth will mourn, because you said Judea. He's speaking about them still. When we're grafted in, if we see it the way that we're supposed to, there's 12 tribes in Israel, we are part of the 12 tribes of Israel. And they were not in the whole nation. They were in Israel at this time. Okay? So, hold up. Gotta sneeze.
Yeah.
Woo! Okay. All right, where was I at? 30, right?
I want to also focus that it says, all of the tribes of the earth will mourn. So keep going.
The tribes of the earth, yes.
Yes, they will mourn.
Will mourn.
Keep going.
And they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory.
Yeah.
And he will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other.
Yeah.
But concerning, and then I want to jump, 36. I want to jump 36. If you want to read in between, you can.
No, we have to read in between.
Read in between then.
So it says, now learn the parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and put forth its leaves, you know that the summer is near. So you too, he's talking to the disciples. He's not talking to us. He's talking to the disciples. The Bible was written for us, but not to us. So we have to remember this, the context of the situation. He says, you too, when you see all these things, recognize that he is near, right at the door. Truly, I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away until all these things take place. So I want to focus on that and just remember that all of these things that he mentioned will not pass away until all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not. And then you can go into 36 like you wanted to.
Okay. But concerning that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only. For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man.
Yes.
For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day when Noah entered the ark.
Yes.
And they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away. So will be the coming of the Son of Man.
Yes.
The two men will be in the field. One will be taken,
Yes,
and one left,
yes,
raptured. Two
That's
women
one
will
way.
be grinding at the mill. One will be taken, and one will be left, rapture. Therefore, stay awake, for you do not know what day your Lord is coming. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
But know this, that if the master of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore, you also must be against the Son of Man, ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Here's the key. Verse 29 says, after the tribulation, right? But if you see verses 40 and 41, what do they say? They say that we will be taken, right? So the people that are left, based on my interpretation of this text.
Hold on. It doesn't say we will be taken.
It says one will be taken.
One will be taken.
Correct.
And one will stay. We don't know who is which yet.
We don't know, but that's the thing.
We don't know that yet.
We have to know who that is, because the believers, the one that are prepared, like the 10 virgins that had the 5 were prudent and had oil, and the other 5 didn't. That's an interpretation of the people that are ready for this coming and the people that are not.
Right.
Some of us will not. That is a half and half theory right there, right? If we go by it. 10 virgins, 5 and 5 are left behind. Why? Because they were not doing the things that they needed to do.
Does it say that in the 10 virgins that the 5 that weren't prepared were left there behind?
It doesn't go that deep into it.
So that's important, because you said that. So we got to make sure that when we look into it, that it's what it says, because it could it could influence our bias when we're talking about it, right? So I want to talk from a place, I want to try to talk from a place with no bias as much as possible, and just try to interpret the text for what it says. And in this sense, it says one will be taken and one will be left.
And one will be left.
So the connotation is not really described as to which is which, except the context explains it.
Well, but you have to, what we're also, people that rationalize and understand common sense.
Well, right, but okay, so taken and left, there's no negative connotation in those words.
But there is, right? Because are you thinking that if 2 people, let's say, go to a stadium, they're going to a game, right? One has a ticket and one doesn't. Do you think they both get in?
No.
So the person with a ticket is going to get in.
Right.
The person without the ticket stays out.
And what dictates that?
So what is the reference here?
So what dictates that? The context. If I give you another context where somebody dies, right? And I say, unfortunately, he was taken from us, right? That context dictates that the person taken is the one who is dead and no longer amongst the living.
If you're talking about the context, it's given it to you right there.
No, yeah. It
2 men will be in the field, 2 women will be grinding at the mill.
But that's not the context, Renee. The context is the 2 examples that it gives. The examples that it gives, it says,
is the ones I've just read.
Is the ones that you read, but you skipped over the example that it likened it to. There was a comparison and a simile made by Jesus.
Which was?
He says it right here. It says,
because it was talking about
What verse
Noah.
were you on? Yes.
Verses 40 and 41.
Yeah, so in 37 it says, for the coming of the Son of Man will be just like the days of Noah.
Like the days of Noah.
So now let's focus on what that is, right? It says, for as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and being given in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark. And they were unaware. Who was unaware?
All the people that were doing iniquities.
Right. Until the flood came and took them all away.
And swept them all away.
Right, okay. Swept them. Same thing. They are the ones who are taken out of the earth.
No, you're interpreting. You can't. That's not what it says. It says swept them all away.
I understand.
So if you translate the word into taken, then it's going to make sense.
Well, no, because the word in Greek means both. The word in Greek means both, Renee. Okay. It means either taken or to be swept, right? So or to be taken out of something. So in that example, the person who remained on the earth were the faithful, the ones who went into the ark. The ones who were swept away or eliminated are the wicked, the ones who did not follow the example. He gave that example and provided a simile. And they did not understand until the day came and took and swept them all away, or depending on your translation, so will the coming of the Son of Man. There will be two men in the field. So it describes now.
Yeah, but I think that's a little bit of reaching, because
why?
You look at verse 42 and it says, therefore stay awake, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming.
Correct.
Do you want to stay when the Lord comes, or do you want to be taken with him?
No, see, that is built on a false premise, right?
No, that is exactly what verses 41, 42 are talking about.
I'm saying the idea of wanting to be taken.
Do you want to be taken? But it says it there in verse 42. It gives you a warning to stay awake, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming. It is a warning that you want to be taken. You want to be prepared to be taken
for his arrival
when he comes.
Okay,
and so if we're going to go by the context is you want to be taken. And those left behind, unfortunately, there is a negative connotation to that.
Now, Renee, I believe that you're assuming that into the text. I don't believe that's being read in the text.
No, that's read here.
The Son of
Clear.
Okay, so then how is the Son of Man's day just like Noah's? It's not. With that understanding, it's not like the days of Noah at all.
So who did he take?
He didn't take anybody. He took the wicked. He took them out of the earth.
Yeah, that to me is
who stayed on the earth?
What's that?
Was it the wicked or the righteous?
There's a word that I'm looking for that I can't seem to grasp right now. Semantics. That's semantics.
Well, it's a comparison. I believe if Jesus is going to make a comparison, that it's going to be parallel.
Like the days of Noah, but nobody said that he took. He didn't take any of the people that were flooded away. Those people stood. They weren't taken. The one that was taken was Noah.
So he
was taken into the boat, and he was saved with his family.
I understand.
Okay, the people that were left behind, they stood and got swept away with the flood.
But did Noah go into heaven with Jesus?
No.
Until the earth was fixed?
No,
and then
but
he
it's
brought
an
him back?
example. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
You can't expect everything to be laid down in layman terms for you.
Well, no,
Some things in
Jesus-
the scripture, you have to discern the scriptures as you read it and understand the inferences and references that it's speaking about.
Right, I
so
get you.
Here is giving an example of the days of Noah, but it's explaining, it's basically giving a warning that very few, it was only a family that was saved. Very few. So it's going to be like those days, which means we have to stay vigilant.
Right.
That's why I think this topic is so important, because if we don't stay vigilant, if we don't think that something is coming, if we don't have a sense of alertness in us, we can miss out on an opportunity to get saved of a great tribulation that I believe is coming and is coming soon. That's why I think it's so important. I know you said it's not salvific. I don't think it's salvific topic in itself.
Yeah.
I think it can weaken or strengthen your faith, as I said at the start. And it can get you either closer to the truth or further away from it, because you don't have a sense of urgency if you don't think that something is coming.
I think everybody still has a sense of urgency.
Absolutely not.
I believe so. I believe I still have a sense of urgency. I
Maybe
believe
you're one of few.
I
and
believe
you know
that
you're
Christ,
different.
I believe Christ is coming, and I believe he's coming to, to exact judgment on the earth, and to exact judgment on everybody that he comes here to establish his kingdom for.
Sure.
So there is an expectation of righteousness. There is an expectation of judgment. So, I don't think it really changes the message that much. Ultimately, really what this is, if you go into verse 28, for example, just before, there's there's other keys in this text that tell us what I'm saying. It's not only the example of the Son of Man and Noah. It's not only the one will be taken, one will be left, right? It tells us in verse 28, wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. I want you to focus on that term, because when you go into the parallel account in Luke chapter 17 to be exact, they give us more details about who was taken and who was left. There's actually even an extra example that is brought up there that is not in Matthew 24. He says, let me go down right in verse 29. Well, let's go up into verse 28, right? In 27, it gives about Noah. Marriage, Noah entered the ark, the flood came and destroyed them all. Now it says destroyed them all, right? And it was the same as it happened in the days of Lot. So now he gives another example about Sodom and Gomorrah. And he says they were eating, they were drinking, they were buying, they were selling, they were planting, they were building.
Yeah, but there's a lot of examples of a lot of things in the Bible.
I understand, but what I'm saying is it's bringing up two examples, and it's comparing who will be taken and who will be left to those examples. And both the examples are the same, and they have the same theme. And it says, They were buying, they were selling, they were talking about the unrighteous that are not paying attention, right? That are not aware of his coming, right? They're not aware. But on the day that Lot went out from Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. It will be the same on the day that the Son of Man is revealed. On that day, one who is on the housetop and whose goods are in the house must not go down to take them out. And likewise, the one who is in the field must not return back. Remember Lot's wife. And then he says, whoever seeks his life or to keep his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life will preserve it. I tell you that on that night, there will be two in one bed. One will be taken and the other one will be left. There will be two women grinding at the same place, and one will be taken and one will be left. Two men will be in the field and one will be taken and one will be left. And answering, they said to him, where, Lord? So now he's talking to his disciples, right? He's been talking to his disciples. They asked him, where, Lord? And he said to them the same exact quote from Matthew 24 in verse 28, I believe. He says, where the body is, there also the vultures will be gathered. So they're asking him, where is it that he's taking these people? Where are you taking them? Where, Lord? They're going to go where the bodies are, where the corpses are, where the vultures are gathered, right? This is about judgment. The people that are being taken are not actually the people who are being preserved. They're the people who he's exacting his judgment on. The people who are left on the earth to inherit the earth, as it says in Psalm chapter 37, the wicked will be done away with. The wicked are the ones who are going to be taken out of the earth. The righteous are the ones who are going to inherit the earth, right? It mirrors this all over Scripture. The earth is our permanent place, and the people that will be taken out from it are always the wicked. And it has shown time and time and time again. So when Jesus
said that he goes and prepares a place so that where he is, we shall also be. Where is that if we're only going to live here on the earth?
Well, we know that according to Revelation chapter 21, the New Jerusalem is in heaven until Jesus returns. When Jesus returns, the New Jerusalem will descend out of heaven like a bride adorned for her husband.
So the New Jerusalem has not always been in heaven?
The New Jerusalem is the place that he was preparing at that time.
So he created it after his death. It didn't exist.
Well, he says, I'm preparing. Even when he came down, he said, I'm preparing. So it could have been something, it's ambiguous. It could have been something that he was preparing before he even came as Jesus, but it wasn't done until now at the end when he returns. He will bring down his kingdom.
But he said, my Father's house has many places.
Correct. Many houses.
Many houses.
Many
New
places to live.
Jerusalem is not a house.
It's a city with many houses. Yes. It's
not a house. So I don't think, and the reason why I think that's important is because that also gives an explanation of where we go during the
Well, the Father doesn't live. The Father doesn't live in the New Jerusalem.
No, he doesn't.
Not now. He will though.
He's in heaven
that's his house.
While we are raptured, will we wait for the 7 years to complete themselves?
So the Father's house is heaven.
The Father's house is heaven. He's in heaven right now.
Right. That's his house.
And that's where Jesus said he was going to go and prepare a place for us.
Yes.
So that where he is, we may also be.
That's what I'm saying. So the New Jerusalem is where?
So where does he... Okay, well, the New Jerusalem is going to be brought down after it's created.
Right. No, right. When it's
finished,
we are
going to live there here on earth.
Yes.
Nowhere in the scriptures does it say that we're going to live in the New Jerusalem in heaven.
Correct.
So we are going to heaven to meet up in that place where he said he's preparing for us.
I see.
Especially with that tribulation.
I see where your understanding is. Okay.
See? So we have a time and a space where we're going to be there with him.
Yeah.
And then when the New Jerusalem is finalized and established on earth, we will come and we will reign with him for 1,000 years.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I understand what you were saying there in Luke, but there's another passage in Luke that I want you to explain to me.
Okay.
In Luke 21, 34 through 36, it says, but watch yourselves, lest your hearts be weighted down with dissipation and drunkenness and cares of this life, and that they come upon you suddenly like a trap.
Yes.
For it will come upon all who dwell on the face of the whole earth. All. But stay awake at all times, praying that you may have strength to escape all these things that are going to take place and to stand before the Son of Man. What is it talking about, escape?
So which verse was there? 36?
36.
But keep
when it
on
says
alert.
escape all these things, what things are we to escape?
And to stand before. It's talking about when he told them to escape Judea. Those who are in Judea must run, must flee. Because if they don't flee, they're going to fall victim to all of those signs, to all of those things that are going to occur, the tribulation, of those days, the people being captive and thrown into the captive by sword. If you go earlier, right, in Luke, right, because the thing about Luke is that it kind of gives us a deeper dive into Matthew 24, and as a matter of fact, if we go earlier, we try to understand. It's funny because the language, the abomination that causes desolation, is not in Luke, right? So why is that? It's actually replaced because Luke, who did he write for?
For Paul.
Well, I'm saying, but who was the audience of his gospel?
The Gentiles.
Right. See, the thing is that the Jews understand Daniel. The Gentiles don't. So the Gentiles can't understand prophecy from Daniel. So Luke broke it down, and he actually gives you the answer. As a matter of fact, it's in the same place that it was in Matthew chapter 24. If you go right in verse 19, it says, by your endurance, you will gain your lives. And he says, instead of saying, but when the abomination of desolation, instead of saying that, he says, but when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then recognize that her desolation is near. He decoded it for the Gentiles because the Gentiles are not going to understand a prophecy from Daniel. It just don't make sense, right? So he told them, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then recognize that the desolation of her is near, and then those who are in Judea must flee. So you see, that advice came at the same time as in Matthew 24 when they said the abomination that causes desolation. When you see that, you must flee. So now we know what that is. Then those who are in Judea must flee to the mountains, and those who are in the midst of the city must leave, and those who are in the country must not enter into the city, because these are the days of vengeance, and all the things that are written will be fulfilled. Woe to the pregnant woman who was nursing a baby in those days, right? See, so it's talking about Jerusalem here. It's talking about the destruction, right, of the land. And then it says, there will be great distress instead of a great tribulation. Luke says, there will be a great distress upon the land of Judea, of Jerusalem, and wrath against this people, the Jews. And they will fall by edge of the sword and will be led captive into all nations. And Jerusalem will be trampled underfoot by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. So this entire breakdown helps us understand Matthew 24 in a way that is more acceptable for us because we're not Jews. We don't truly understand the prophecies like the way that they did.
You're almost dismissing Matthew 24 and replacing it.
I'm not.
Or Luke.
I'm not. It's a breakdown.
What you're doing.
No, it's a breakdown. The Jews of that time understand Jesus. We're not the Jews of that time. We more align with Gentiles. The Gentiles didn't understand prophecies in Daniel. As a matter of fact, in Daniel chapter 12 is when he really, really talks about the same exact great distress that's going to happen. And he says it in Daniel, let me pull it up real quick. He says it in Daniel chapter 12. He says, now at this time, Michael, the great prince who stands guard over the sons of your people, will arise, right? And there will be a time of distress, same language, such has never occurred since there was a nation until that time. So in Daniel chapter 12, it's talking about Israel being a nation. Not a great distress amongst all people from all tribes and all nations and peoples and tongues. It's talking about a great distress that will land upon the Israel nation, the nation of Israel and the people who are Israel since their beginning of becoming a nation. So when you read Daniel chapter 12, you understand, even when you jump into Daniel chapter 12 and then you read Luke 21, he breaks it down to be Jerusalem. He breaks down the abomination of desolation. He decodes that for us. We understand that the whole context, most of chapter 24 of Matthew is about Jerusalem, is about the destruction, because around 68 AD, I'm wrong. Around 66 AD is when the armies started to go around Jerusalem. And as a matter of fact, you asked me earlier, who substantiated the claims of those signs in that time? His name is Josephus. We talked about him in the last pod. Josephus is a famous Jewish historian. He's secular, bro. He's not a Christian. So he talks about these events, and he says that there was many false messiahs and prophets. Right? He actually wrote in his book called War 2:13, verse 4. He says many imposters and deceivers persuaded the people to follow them into the desert. Exactly what it says in the scripture. They will tell you, go into the wilderness. They'll tell you, go into the deserts. promising signs of deliverance. The governor sent horsemen who killed many of them. He wrote that in War 2:13-4. And then in War 6:5-2, he wrote, a false prophet was the occasion of the people's destruction. He had made a public proclamation that God commanded them to go into the temple and that they should receive miraculous signs and deliverance. So he's a historian. He's not a Christian, and he's writing down times of great wonders and people claiming to be a Messiah. He also talks about famines during the Claudius reign. It was actually recorded in the Bible, in the book of Acts, chapter 11:28. It confirms that there was a plague throughout the whole world in Acts. So that's a pestilence. Famine was too hard to be borne. Women snatched foods from their own children, it says. This is Josephus writing this. And some mothers killed and roasted and ate their own infants. So he's talking about the greatest things, and this actually matches not only Deuteronomy 28.
So you're minimizing it to that point.
No, it's not a minimization. This is a historian.
In this small pocket period of time, all of these things completed itself in the Roman Empire and Israel at that time, Greece at that time. Everything completed itself within those three nations. That's what you're saying.
My belief is that
that was the whole inhabited earth, is what you believe,
most
right?
of Matthew chapter 24 is talking about the first century, with an exclusion near the end, maybe verse, I believe, maybe 36, around there, in the very end, when it starts talking about the Son of Man returning. Starting there is when it's talking about the return of Jesus Christ. Okay, that is my belief. That is the way that I understand it. I believe that there is and this is, we're talking as friends. This is not nothing against anything that you believe. You're free to believe how you believe it, and just like I'm free to believe it how I am. But I believe that a lot of that is part of a creation of trauma, of a lot of people not wanting to be like the movie Left Behind, be the one that has to suffer for 7 years under reign of the Antichrist, with the Holy Spirit departing from the earth. I believe that is just like hell, just like how we described that there's some people that are that they feel destroyed by the idea of eternal hellfire. There is people that feel just as destroyed with the thought of being left behind and the thought of being stuck for 7 years. And I believe that's just another one of those things that is, in my opinion, dogmatic, and can cause hurt in a lot of people. So
where's the church? Revelation 6-18, chapter 6-18. Where's the church?
What does chapter 6 talk about? Where is it?
The entire chapters are speaking about the end times, right? About the horsemen. It starts speaking about the plagues. It starts speaking about everything.
Right.
What I'm asking is, where's the church? Because in chapter 6-18, I found a recurrent theme that the church is nowhere to be found.
I think the key to understanding Revelation chapter 6 is reading Revelation chapter 1, reading Revelation chapter 2. In each chapter, he addresses letters, a revelation by Jesus Christ, a revelation by God to Jesus Christ, who he then reveals to the 7 churches, which are mentioned. And these are the 7 churches that were the churches in the first century. So these 7 churches, he was granting them a letter, and he was letting them know of something very key that he says, of things that must soon take place. So soon take place, in my opinion, is not talking about thousands of years. Soon take place to me is just as he's writing these letters to the Laodicea, writing this church to the church of Ephesus, writing to these churches, just as he describes those churches, he's talking to those churches.
But you have to be able to also compartmentalize that time for God doesn't work the same as for you. And I know that for you is not something that could take thousands of years, but I believe Revelation 6-18 is talking about times to come. It's talking about
I'm familiar.
The last week of Daniel. That's what I believe it's talking about. And that's why.
Okay, so break that down for me. I'm curious.
We really can't point out. The point is that we really can't point out anywhere during those chapters.
No, because it talks about it. It talks about 1,290 days. It does. It talks about the time period.
But it doesn't talk about the church.
No, it does.
What does it say about the church?
It says, Revelation. Where is it that he talks about the 1,000? Let me see. I'll pull it up here. In Revelation chapter 11, it talks about the holy city being trampled, right? For 42 months, which is 1,290 days.
And how long is that?
1,260 days.
42 months is what?
That's 3.5
3
years.
and a half years.
Correct. Right? Revelation 11:3 talks about the two witnesses that prophesy. For how long? 1,260 days. Right? It talks about, in Revelation 12, the woman nourished in the wilderness. Who's the woman?
Not the church.
The woman's not the church?
The woman's not the church.
Okay. So the woman was nourished in the wilderness for 1,260 days. Same amount of time. Revelation chapter 12.
You know what that's referring to, right?
What is it referring to?
The first 3.5 years.
So
the first 3.5 years and then the second 3.5 years.
Okay. So then what about Revelation chapter 12 and verse 14 where it says, the times, and a half a time? Which is
what that's referenced.
Well, times. Okay, so in Revelation chapter 12, verse 14. Let me pull it up real quick. Revelation chapter 12, verse. See, where it says the woman, right? A great sign appeared in heaven, and a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and on her head the crown with the 12 stars. Who do you interpret that woman to be?
I'm not sure.
And she was with child, and she cried out, being in labor and in pain to give birth. Now the dragon, another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, the great red dragon, having 7 heads, 10 horns, right? His tail swept a third of the stars.
I think, you know what? Now that I think back to it, I believe that some of the people that were believers at one point and turned away from the faith, they stay and go through the great tribulation. I believe that she could represent those people that stay behind, that were believers, that still have the knowledge but don't have the conviction of the Holy Spirit. She could very well be representing those people. And that is what it's talking about there.
Now, that woman also gives birth to Christ. So how does that make sense?
What do you mean she gives birth to Christ?
It says, and she gave birth, because remember, she was in pain. She was in labor. And it says she gave birth to a son in the same chapter. And the male child who was to rule all the nations with a rod of iron.
Because we believe some of these people will make it out of the great tribulation.
Yeah, but how does it make sense? How
do
they
Jesus
give
Christ
birth
is
to
coming
Christ?
back and those people are saved as well? What does that mean if through a great tribulation we have the Messiah still saving people that stood and beat everything that it took to get to the other side?
Yeah, but the Messiah.
What does that mean?
Okay, so you're looking at it. So how do you look at it then? If she gave
I'm
birth
looking at it
to the
symbolically,
son,
exactly as what it is.
So what symbolism do you see?
In the sense that these people survived the great tribulation. They made it through those 3.5 years of difficulty, of famine, of destruction. And when they made it to the other side, they met the Messiah. And if they met the Messiah, that's symbolic to they gave birth to him. That could be very easily symbolic to that, since those people, nobody's supposed to make it through that. But some of these people do.
Okay. Well, it says, if we keep going, it says, she gave birth to a son, a male child, right, who's to rule all the nations. And then the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared by God, right? So that she should be nourished for 1,260 days. Okay? So these people, are they being nourished by God? Because according to you, those people who are in the tribulation are not.
They don't have the Holy Spirit.
Correct. So this people can't be the same people.
What is God? What represents God?
What do you mean? What represents?
His word.
Okay.
Okay, so the word is still there. They still remember the word. I'm pretty sure some of them are still going to be able to squeeze in some scriptures, some Bibles, and rely on the word, not the conviction of the word, but the word itself. And that could be the protection of God, that the word is always going to remain. Till the end, the word remains. Okay. And that could be the way that these people are kept by God.
So I feel like
great tribulation.
I feel like Revelation is tough because, again, it's a lot of reasons why a lot of people avoid Revelation is because Revelation is obviously high in symbolism.
Correct.
High in apocalyptic imagery, but also it's not chronological, and people don't realize this.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, what you're saying there, you're saying, you said before, right, that there has to be a lot of bias to be able to prove certain things in the tribulation. I think it requires biases to prove or to make it seem like the church was around between chapter 6 and 18.
Okay, so in this chapter, this is chapter 12. So this is even way further than chapter 6, right?
Correct.
Do you find that to be a chronological order?
Absolutely.
Okay, so then tell me why it says here that the devil swept a third of the angels from heaven. When did that happen?
A third of the angels?
Well, a third of the stars.
That's not church.
No.
That's not us. That's not the church.
But that's not my point. My point is,
what's the point?
When did the devil, the dragon, sweep his tail and take a third of the stars? When did that happen? Because according to you, it happened in Revelation 12, which means it happens way after in the future, which we know is not true. We know that the devil already took a third of the angels.
Yeah, that part I can't tell you.
Right.
That part I can't tell you.
And then later on, it says in the same chapter, Michael, the archangel, there was a war in heaven. And he fought with the devil and his angels, and he cast them down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you were not going to say that this happens later.
No.
That's
something that happened.
This is exactly what I mean.
Fact.
Correct. So it's not chronological. The book of Revelation retells events in the past multiple times. So that's my point about the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation is constantly retelling stories about the past. I accept that this was written in the later date by John, and when he was
there's a lot of
exiled in Patmos.
scriptures, a lot of things in scriptures that make references back to the beginning, right? To Mosaic times, to Jeremiah's time, to Daniel's time, to David's time. There's a lot of parts in the scripture.
Including Revelation.
Correct.
That's
that doesn't
my point.
mean that the entire chapter, or that doesn't mean that the entire chapters between 6 and 18, they're all referencing back to the beginning, right? That could be symbolic from when Satan fell and a third of the angels fell and left with him. That could be symbolic to that. Sure, that's a possibility. But for us to then make that chapters 13, 14, 15, 6, everything after that and before that were also references to the beginning, then I think that we're fooling ourselves.
My point is, one chapter can talk about something.
Sure.
Can be in the past.
But if we read the rest of them, which we won't do today because that's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
But if we read the rest of them, a lot of it is referring to the things that are happening during the end times. This is giving an example. It's maybe a genealogy speaking about Satan and how he came to be and how the angels gathered with him and they're going to make the war. It's just trying to explain and bring everything into the combination that it does at the end of the book of Revelations, right? It could easily be that. But again, if we do go into Revelations and we start reading the other chapters, it literally talks about the horsemen and everything else that is going to be, including the pestilences that is going to be coming during these times that we're talking about. That to us is the belief that these things are going to happen in the 7 years.
Right.
Now,
I guess the 3.5 years would be my question in the book of Revelation because it's 1,260 days is talked about on 3 different occurrences.
It talks about the 3.5 years.
Yeah, it talks about, sometimes they call it 42 months. Sometimes they call it 1,260 days, right? It's brought up 3 times. Okay. So, in 3 different, and each of those 3 different things is talking about different events that have nothing to do with each other. So we have to understand and try to figure that out. That's my question for you or for people with your position is that, are these different 3.5 year periods? Are they the same 3.5 year periods? My understanding is that they are the same 3.5 year period.
Well, 3.5 years, Jesus ministry, right? And again, if we start thinking about, you mentioned that there was an attack on the temple, the surrounding the temple before it was destroyed in 70 AD. That started around 66 AD.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the Jewish-Roman War. In 66, it was when the culmination was beginning.
That's another 3.5 years, right? And then, as we believe the 7 years that are left to be, half of the years to be successes, wins, abundance, and then the other 3.5 years to be tribulation, true tribulation, then there's an explanation there.
I guess my point is in the book of Revelation, never is 7 years described. Never. Not once.
Yeah, but that's why we're not just leaning in on the book of Revelation.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Because only 3.5 is ever described in the book of Revelation. Never is there a 7 year period.
Sure.
Right. That's just one point I wanted to make.
That's why we started with Daniel, because Daniel's the one that leaves the 7th week, the 70th week.
Daniel, in my opinion, is the only place where you can get that idea.
The 7 years that are left that we believe that haven't been completed. Correct.
Right. Exactly.
So if we think about, if we move away from Revelations, I want to understand where was it? Thessalonians, the 1 Thessalonians 5:9.
Yeah.
The Greek word there has appointed. God has not appointed us to wrath. God's judicial wrath, orge, not generic suffering. Tribulation equals God's outpour wrath. If the church is exempt from org, then it must be removed before the wrath begins. This is in 1 Thessalonians 5:9.
Say that again. If the church is exempt from what?
If the church is exempt from org,
is that the word for tribulation?
Which God's judicial wrath, not generic suffering. So it equals tribulation, God's outpour wrath. Then how is it going to be removed? How is it going to be withheld from the wrath that is to come if it's not removed? How can we be on earth? This wrath happened in the earth. All of these famines, all of this destruction happened on the earth, and us be covered from it while it's occurring if we're not removed from the earth.
That's because that stuff already happened. Remember, my idea is all of that pestilence, all of the famines.
So we lived through it.
The Jews and the Christians of the first century, that lived through, and I'll go through exactly what they lived through. Okay, there is. Let me pull this up. We talked about the famines. We talked about the false messiahs and the prophets that have already came about in the first century, all brought up by Josephus. With the wars and the uprising. Remember, after Nero's suicide in the year 68 AD, okay, Rome plunged into a civil war, bro. They went through a war because everyone wanted to be king. It's the first time in a very long time in Roman history they were under something called the Pax Romana, which is a Roman peace. Okay, it lasted over to almost 182 AD, but it was interrupted here by the moment of Nero. And when Nero died, or when he killed himself, they plunged into civil war. This is what is called the Year of the Four Emperors, known by all historians, known by scholars. This is all historically proven to have happened as well in the Roman time. You have Galba from 68 to 69. Then he was assassinated by soldiers. You have Otho, which seized the throne. He seized power in the year 69 AD, but lost it in the same year to Vitellius. And then Vitellius, from 69, reigned only a few months, and then he was killed in battle. Then Vespasian took over from 69 to 79. He secured power and sent his son Titus to finish the Jewish war and destroy the Temple of Jerusalem in 70 AD. So at this time, it was unheard of for there to be wars, bro. That's why when Jesus warned the apostles and he told them there's going to be wars and rumors of wars. If there was always wars, what kind of a warning would that serve? If there was constantly wars here and there, it was so impactful that he told them that because they haven't seen or heard of war in a while because they've been under full control of Rome. When they started seeing this global threat, this global war take place where everybody's trying to seize power of Rome, the Year of the Four Emperors, this all happened from 68 all the way to 69. Okay? They were distracted while Jerusalem was kind of dealing with their own thing. He even wrote in War 515, now there was sedition and civil war in the city, and all the calamities of war rushed upon us at once. Civil war broke out in Rome, and everyone in Judea was very glad of this revolt of the Romans, hoping for deliverance from them. Because they were hoping that because they were getting into war, that they would not have to be Romans, anymore. And then he says, but this relief from war turned into their ruin. And it's exactly what Jesus says when he says, you will hear of wars. Okay, that's when you know that it's near the destruction. He then documented persecutions, crazy persecutions, bro. Like they were driven out of the synagogues, delivered up to the councils, exactly as Jesus predicted. This is what he wrote. And then he actually mentions in Matthew 24:9, Josephus mentions the Jewish infighting, executions, and betrayals. And then he even wrote about the destruction when he wrote, Caesar gave orders that they should now demolish the entire city and the temple. It was so thoroughly laid, even with the ground, that there was nothing to make those that came to believe that it ever had been inhabited. Never did any city suffer such miseries, he wrote, nor did any age ever breed a generation more fruitful in wickedness into what happened here in the temple of Jerusalem. So, he wrote about all of these things. This historian that he's not even a Christian, dude. A secular guy, bro, wrote about all of these things that occurred. And there was great tribulation in that time. You're talking about the destruction of their temple, which they've only had two since the beginning of time. Okay. The destruction of that temple.
And there's already plans to rebuild it though.
I've heard. And the trampling of that temple, the complete wasteland that they left it in, and then over 1 million Jews killed in that war, and then on top of that, Christians being killed by hands of Nero.
So here's what I'll say. I think it requires minimalization of the expectations of what all of this looks like, right? Of what a great tribulation really looks like, of what famine really looks like, of what destruction of believers really looks like. You just mentioned a number there. For example, you said 1 million Jews died, right, during this time frame, this conflict.
Yes.
Well, 6 million Jews died during the genocide with Hitler, right, in the 1930s, 1940s. During this age.
Yeah, but they didn't have a temple. So what all things considered,
no, but
the temple is a huge thing for Jews.
The point
bro.
is that we can't minimize these prophecies that happen in little events where it happened in a, I think, pocket, right, in a controlled pocket, make it into a nationwide prophecy, right? When God spoke, when Jesus spoke and prophesied, he's prophesied to the nations. You being under the belief that the Roman Empire, that Greece, and that Israel was the entire planet, was the nations. It's just incorrect. I think we had to wait till the whole inhabited earth was inhabited in order for this to be able to take full motion and effect, and for the prophecy to honestly be effective. I think that we had to wait through that. And I want to read one last thing here from me, because I know that you're convicted in your way.
and you too, yeah, but both of us.
Before we do,
oh my God,
there is organic coconut water. This will never miss right here. This is Kirkland brand. This is no sugars added, not from concentrate. Right here we have Nature's Gatorade. I'm telling you right now, nothing's better than this. It hydrates, it replenishes, it does all the good stuff. You drink it and it's like it wipes away stomach pains too, cramping. All that stuff's gone, right? Like all of it. I'm telling you. The other day I was cramping. So I was lifting little weights. I drank this thing and boom, gone within a couple minutes. As a matter of fact, all of you ChatGPT fiends and all of you Google fiends, go ahead and look it up and ask any of those two platforms what's the best for helping and controlling cramps. And I guarantee you one of the top options is going to be water and coconut water. And this one is at the top of the list. So go ahead and get yourself in Kirkland. Stop playing already.
Stop playing with us.
All right.
And guys, they also make big ones, bro.
Wow.
They make big ones. So if you guys like the jumbo size, they have it at Costco, guys. So you guys know where to get it.
I want to read, because of your level of conviction, I'm going to let you be great. And I just hope that we meet up in the clouds regardless.
On we that will. Faithful day. We will, brother, man.
But I want to read 1 Thessalonians 5, 1 through 11.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
And it says, now concerning the times and the seasons, brothers, you have no need to have anything written to you. For you yourselves are fully aware that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night.
Yes.
While people are saying there is peace and security, then sudden destruction will come upon them as labor pains come upon a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. But you are not in darkness, brothers, for that day to surprise you like a thief. For you are all children of light, children of the day. We are not of the night or of the darkness. So then let us not sleep as others do, but let us keep awake and be sober. For those who sleep, sleep at night, and those who get drunk are drunk at night. But since we belong to the day, let us be sober, having put on the breastplate of faith and love, and for a helmet of the hope of salvation. For God has not destined us for wrath, but to obtain salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ, who died for us, so that whether we are awake or asleep, we might live with him. Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing. I continue to emphasize we're not destined for wrath. If we're not destined for wrath, we have to be removed. And I don't have much more to add, because I think that there's been a new awakening of trying to disprove, this concept. There's and honestly, I think that it's very convenient to the modern generation to not believe that something like this is coming, because I do disagree vehemently that the lack of urgency, that there's not a lack of urgency. There is a lack of urgency in the believer today, and it's because a lot of people have adopted the belief that we've already gone through those tribulations, that, we don't have something like that looming upon us. And some people don't fear the second coming of the Lord. Some people fear the great tribulation. Some people fear going through that, being persecuted,
Right.
going through the famine, going through the destruction, through the death, through the anguish, right? Through all of these things, death running from them, the Holy Spirit leaving. People will tell you that they fear that, not so much that they, kind of fear that the second coming happens and that, they're not part of it. So I would caution folks out there, do your own digging, do some research as well, read the scriptures at face value.
Always. Don't take our word for it, right?
No.
Go into the scriptures, jump in, delve yourself, read yourself. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, like we said in the beginning of the pod, this is going to be difficult to do without bias. It's going to be difficult. We have biases. We have things ingrained in us. We could try as hard as we can, and we can take steps to try to read things in an unbiased standpoint, but there's going to be a little bit in there that leaks in always. So, but try to, as best as you can, to read it without bias, jump in there, try to read it as a child, understanding a book for the first time. And yeah, bro, I mean, I guess, I don't know if you were finished. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm done.
Okay, cool. I guess I'll leave it off with this. At the end of the day, brother, I know that we love Christ.
Yes.
I know that, we have our convictions sometimes, and our ideas, and eventually sometimes we align, and then sometimes we align in the future, sometimes we don't, and that's okay. I want to urge the believers that are watching that it's okay to have a friendship. You're my best friend, bro. It's okay to have a friendship with someone who doesn't agree with you
and disagree. Yeah.
And that's a big thing, especially for me getting out of the witnesses. At the beginning, like I talked about on the identity crisis, I had a crisis of faith and I didn't know where to go because I wanted to go to a church where everyone believed in the same way that I did, because that's what I grew up understanding was real. But that's not real, bro. Real love is when you're willing to love one another despite the differences that you have. I guess I'll leave it with this final comment of, I think I remember you mentioning something about, the earth, the inhabited earth, and that it's talking about the whole world. There is scripture in Luke, where he actually says in Luke chapter 2, he says, "Now in those days a decree went out from Caesar Augustus for all of the inhabited earth to be registered." Right? He sent forth a census. At that time, the inhabited earth, to them and to the people of the first century, including the authors of the first century that wrote the scriptures, they understood the inhabited earth to be the Roman Empire. So a lot of times when it says inhabited earth, with that understanding, it can change a few things. And then also, ultimately, there's going to be a level of, like I said, negotiation with the text regardless. That's something that I typically say when someone wants to confirm either a bias that they have, or whatever the case may be. You feel like I have one and I feel like you have one. But at the end of the day, we're here as brothers in Christ, loving one another, spreading the gospel even more. What's most important is what Paul said in 1 Corinthians to the church, is that we all stay united in Christ, that we focus on Christ, that we focus on that sacrifice. I pray, brother, that there's no tribulation, but if there is one, if there is a tribulation, then people need to be very careful and need to make a decision and draw a line in the sand now, because that time, I believe the Son of Man is coming soon. You know what I'm saying? So whatever that means for the believer, if the Son of Man is coming back, whatever that means, take it serious. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, that was it for us, guys. I want you guys to continue to show us the love and support that we love to see every single episode. Go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit the post notification bell. It'll let you know every single time we make videos. Bro, it's just every topic we hit, I'm so sure that there's probably going to be more in the future. If you guys enjoyed the style, listen, we love each other. This is not like we're not hating each other.
Don't get it twisted.
You know what I'm saying?
This is our joy. This is our joy, how we find comfort with each other. Is this debate, differences, talking through it. And some things, I have a lot more to put in and to say, and other things he does. And sometimes when somebody's convicted, you just let them be great.
That's
it.
Equal.
Yes.
But if you guys, again, just continue to show us love.
Yes.
We love you guys. This was episode 19 of the Dry Bones podcast, and we are out.
Take care, man.
Peace out.
We'll talk soon.
Peace.
God bless.